Varka's animation just exposed the truth about how fate works in Teyvat. Varka is the current Knight of Boreas and the Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius. About half a year before the traveler's journey even began, he left Mondstadt on an expedition, taking roughly 80% of the Knight's manpower with him, and leaving Jean behind as acting Grandmaster. And he went on this expedition, knowing full well it would change the entire trajectory of his life. Before he started his long expedition, Varka tried to make sure Mondstadt would still be protected while he was gone. That's where the Tripartite Conference comes in. With Barbados' help, Varka set up an alliance between the three most powerful forces in the region: the Animo Archon Barbados, Varka himself, and the Hexenzirkel. The Hexenzirkel is a coven of witches with influence far beyond one nation. Alice, Nicole, Barbeloth, and Rhindaughter are among its high-ranking members, so it makes sense why you'd want the Hexenzirkel among your allies. Then Varka takes some of the best knights in the organization and leads that expedition north. He believes the abyss is brewing up there, and if it's left unchecked, it won't just hurt one region, it could destroy all of Teyvat.
We interrupt this lore spiral to bring you news from today's sponsor.
Today's video is sponsored by Aniba. Aniba makes topping up your favorite games ridiculously easy, and yes, they've got all the Hoyoverse titles, including Genshin Impact. Here's how it works. Just search Genshin Impact on Aniba's top-up page, choose the server you play on, and enter your UID. And boom, that's it. No login and no password required. It's quick, simple, and you still get your top-up delivered instantly. And the best part? Aniba's cashback system. You can get 10% back from your top-up. For example, if I buy this Primogem pack, I can go to orders and hit claim, and 10% cashback gets added to my account. Then that balance just sits there ready to use on your next top-up for you to use on future pulls. If you want to use Aniba for your Columbina and future Nodcry pulls, use the link in the description and pinned comment down below. Thank you once again, Aniba, for sponsoring today's video. According to the animation, Fate once lined Varka up as the person meant to be Mondstadt's ultimate hero. He was supposed to be the one to resolve the incident at Stormterror's lair, the very first Archon Quest crisis you ever play. In the prologue, Mondstadt is facing a disaster. Dvalin, one of the Four Winds, is terrorizing the region. From the city's perspective, he looks like a monster that needs to be put down. But the truth is a lot more tragic. He's suffering under abyssal corruption, and he's lashing out because he's in pain and being controlled. The teaser basically reveals to us a reality in which a traveler never showed up in Teyvat at all. In that reality, Barbados and Varka go to Stormterror's lair themselves. A battle to the death breaks out between Varka and Dvalin, and it lasts an entire day and night. In the end, Varka defeats Dvalin, but the victory doesn't actually solve this massive problem. Neither Varka nor Barbados can cleanse the abyssal corruption inside him, which leads to Dvalin being sealed away. It's the same kind of predicament we've seen with Azhdaha. After Dvalin's defeat, Varka is hailed as Mondstadt's hero. But that isn't the history we remember. It was just one of the plans Fate had for Varka. Fighting a dragon and becoming Mondstadt's hero was one of Varka's lifelong dreams. But he gives it up anyway. Why? What made him walk away from the perfect life and destiny? Varka requests to be the first challenger of the Hexenzirkel's trial, and after he completes it, he asks for one thing: to look into Barbeloth's Scryglass. Barbeloth's Scryglass is a tool tied to hydromancy, a way to observe the stars and read fate. When Varka looks into it, he sees a devastating calamity of abyssal origin in Nodcry, a calamity that will soon reach Mondstadt. This threat turns out to be the Wild Hunt, remnants of the Conrian Cinerarier wreaking havoc throughout Nodcry until it eventually ends up under the control of Roland, the Bloodstained Knight. Because of that coming calamity, Varka gives up the life Fate seemed to have decided for him, the chance to be Mondstadt's greatest hero, and chooses the harder path, stopping what's coming, saving as many people as he can, and doing what needs to be done. But that raises a big question. If Varka chose the expedition into Nodcry, did he defy fate? This is something that we previously thought only descenders like Traveler could do. But here's the explanation for it. In Genshin, fate is treated like something that can be calculated, a system with strong predicted outcomes. But that system still contains diverging paths. In other words, the endpoints of fate can be heavily predicted and appear to be fixed, but the route you take to get there can branch. The animation's point about heroism fits that perfectly. It frames true heroism as the choice that hurts more, costs more, and carries more risk. And for Varka, the harder path is obvious, leaving behind the life where he gets to be celebrated and stepping into the unknown to prevent a disaster that might never even be credited to him. If Teyvat is a controlled system, meaning it's not a naturally evolving universe but something governed by rules, then a fate system makes sense as something that stabilizes it. The world has expected outcomes. Major events tend to resolve themselves. Roles like hero, villains, disasters, and victories tend to get filled. But who fills those roles is not always fixed, which could be good news for some characters with brutal run-ins with fate coming up ahead. The fate system seems to allow some free will to influence which branch becomes reality. So Varka doesn't defy fate like a descender can. He chooses between the futures that are already possible, and he deliberately picks the one that costs him his dreams and the easy life of a hero. The Traveler is different. Even the Hexen Circle describes the Traveler as a disturbance in fate. According to Sandrone, an external variable that doesn't obey the same rules as everyone else in Teyvat. The Traveler confronts Dvalin at Stormterror's lair and instead of sealing him away, purifies him, clearing the abyssal corruption and freeing him from it. They totally resolve Mondstadt's greatest crisis and becomes Mondstadt's hero. And the important detail is this: the Traveler accomplishes what Varka couldn't. Because if no one in Teyvat can truly cleanse abyssal corruption, then maybe Dvalin being sealed was always the safe outcome the fate system would default to. But the Traveler changes the outcome anyway. Dvalin is purified even when he wasn't scripted to be. And that's why Descenders are a threat to a world that regulates outcomes for the sake of predictability and stability. But an even bigger question is, was this fate system built to protect humanity or protect something else entirely? Short analysis today, but if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm your leafy lore keeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.